The bookstore stayed open late on Thursdays. Most people didn't know that. It was one of those small neighborhood places that felt like a secret, tucked between a Thai restaurant and a vintage clothing shop, easy to miss if you weren't looking. Kai wasn't looking. He'd just been walking, trying to tire himself out after a long day, and there it was, warm light spilling onto the sidewalk, a hand-painted sign that said open in faded gold letters. He pushed open the door without thinking. Inside, it was quiet. Not empty quiet, but the kind of quiet that felt intentional. Careful. Like the space itself was holding its breath. Kai wandered toward the back, past poetry and history and travel writing, until he found himself in the fiction section, his favorite place in any bookstore. That's when he saw him. A man, maybe his age, maybe a little younger, sitting cross-legged on the floor with a stack of books beside him. He had dark curly hair that fell into his eyes, and he was completely absorbed in whatever he was reading, one hand propping up his chin, the other turning pages with the kind of reverence Kai recognized. Kai should have kept walking. Should have found his own corner, his own book, minded his own business. But something made him stop. Maybe it was the way the man was sitting, so comfortable, so at home in this small pool of lamplight. Or maybe it was just that Kai was tired of walking alone. The man looked up. Their eyes met. And Kai felt it, that small electric spark of recognition, even though they'd never met before. "Hi," the man said, smiling. "Sorry, am I in your way?" Kai blinked. No. No, you're fine. I was just browsing, good night for it." The man gestured at the window, where rain had started to tap against the glass. "Better than being out there, yeah," Kai said. And then, because he didn't want the conversation to end yet, "What are you reading?" The man held up the book, a slim paperback with a cover Kai didn't recognize. "Short stories," he said. "I'm trying to find one I read years ago. Can't remember the author, can't remember the title. Just remember it was about two strangers meeting on a train. Sounds familiar. Everything sounds familiar when you can't remember the specifics." The man laughed, soft, self-deprecating. "I've been here for an hour. The owner probably thinks I'm never leaving." "Is there an owner, somewhere?" "I saw her earlier. She's very patient with people who sit on the floor and make a mess," Kai smiled. "That's a good quality in a bookstore owner, essential, really." They looked at each other for a moment, and Kai felt something shift, some small door opening. "I'm Eli," the man said. "Kai." "Nice to meet you, Kai." Eli closed his book, set it aside. "You come here often?" That sounded like a line. "I didn't mean it as a line, no, Kai laughed. "First time, actually. I was just walking and saw the light, best way to find bookstores. The ones you stumble into are always better than the ones you plan for. Is that a rule? It's my personal philosophy." Eli stood, brushed dust off his jeans. "Also applies to coffee shops, record stores, and life in general." Kai liked him immediately. Liked the way he talked, easy and warm, like they'd known each other longer than 30 seconds. Liked the slight awkwardness in his movements, the way he seemed both confident and uncertain at the same time. "So what brings you out on a rainy Thursday night?" Eli asked, wandering toward a different shelf. "Besides stumbling into bookstores." "Couldn't sleep. Thought walking might help. Does it usually?" "Not really. But I keep trying." Eli glanced at him, something understanding in his expression. "I get that. Some nights are just long." Yeah, they drifted through the aisles together, not quite walking side by side but close enough. Eli would pull books off shelves, read the first few lines aloud, ask Kai's opinion. Kai found himself doing the same, reaching for titles he'd loved, testing whether Eli might like them too. It felt like a game. A gentle one. Each book a small offering, a way of saying this is who I am, do you recognize it? And the strange thing was, Eli seemed to. Every recommendation Kai made, Eli nodded, or smiled, or said, "Oh, I love that one." After a while, they ended up in the poetry section, standing close enough that Kai could smell Eli's cologne, something woody and subtle. "You read poetry?" Eli asked. "Sometimes. When I'm feeling brave." "Why does poetry require bravery?" "Because it gets too close." Kai pulled a slim volume off the shelf, turned it over in his hands. "Poems don't let you hide." Eli looked at him with something soft in his eyes. "No. I guess they don't." The bookstore owner, an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes, appeared from the back room around 9:30. "I'm closing up soon," she said gently. "You two are welcome to stay a few more minutes." Eli looked at Kai. "Want to keep walking?" "I'm not ready to go home yet." Kai's heart did something complicated. "Yeah. Okay." They bought their books. Kai got the poetry collection, Eli finally found his short story anthology, and stepped out into the rain. It had lightened to a drizzle now, the kind that hung in the air like mist. The street was slick and reflective, city lights doubled in the wet pavement. "Which way are you headed?" Eli asked. "I don't know. I wasn't really going anywhere." "Me either." Eli smiled. "Want to just walk?" So they walked. Past closed shops and late-night diners, past apartment buildings with lit windows and dark ones. The city felt different at night, quieter, more forgiving. Like it was willing to let them be whoever they wanted to be. They talked about small things. Books they'd loved as kids. Jobs they'd had and left. The strange loneliness of cities, how you could be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. "Do you ever feel that?" Eli asked. "Like you're living next to everyone but not really with anyone, all the time," Kai said quietly. "Yeah. Me too." Kai wanted to ask things. Wanted to know if Eli was walking with him because he was lonely too, or because there was something else happening here. Wanted to know if Eli had noticed the way their hands kept almost touching as they walked, the way the space between them felt charged with possibility. But he didn't know how to ask without changing everything. They stopped at a corner, waiting for the light to change even though there were no cars. "Can I tell you something?" Eli said. "Sure. I almost didn't go into the bookstore tonight. I walked past it twice, talked myself out of it, then turned around and went in anyway. Why? I don't know. It just felt like I was supposed to." Eli looked at Kai, his expression open, vulnerable. "Does that sound ridiculous?" "No," Kai said. "It doesn't." The light changed. They crossed the street. "I'm really glad you went in," Kai added quietly. Eli's hand brushed against his. Brief, maybe accidental, maybe not. "Me too," Eli said. They ended up in a small park, one of those pocket parks the city scattered between buildings, more bench than green space but enough to feel separate from the sidewalk. They sat on a wet bench, neither of them caring that their jeans would get damp. Around them, the city hummed its late-night song. Distant sirens, car horns, the rumble of the subway beneath their feet. "I should probably ask," Eli said. Do you date men?" Kai's breath caught. "Yeah. I do." "Okay. Good." Eli smiled, nervous now. "Because I've been trying to figure out if I think we are," Kai said. Yeah. They looked at each other, and Kai felt that spark again, stronger now, more certain. I don't usually do this, Eli said. Meet someone and just feel like I've known them longer than I have. Me either. So this is weird, right? Good weird, Kai said. I think, Eli laughed, soft and relieved. Okay. Good weird. I can work with that. Kai didn't know what he was doing. He'd been careful for so long, with his heart, with his hope, with letting people in. He'd learned to protect himself, to expect disappointment, to not want things too much. But sitting here with Eli, watching the way the streetlight caught in his dark curls, feeling the warmth of him even in the cool night air, Kai wanted. And for once, he wasn't afraid of it. Can I ask you something? Kai said. Anything. What happens now? I want to see you again. When? Soon. Tomorrow, if you're free. Eli's smile was brilliant. I'm free, okay. Good. They sat in silence for a moment, letting the weight of that settle. Then Eli reached over, tentative, and took Kai's hand. His palm was warm. His grip was sure. Kai looked down at their joined hands, then up at Eli's face. Is this okay? Eli asked. Yeah, Kai said. This is okay. They stayed like that for a long time. Just holding hands on a wet bench in a small park, the city moving around them, the night feeling suddenly less lonely than it had an hour ago. Kai thought about all the nights he'd walked alone, trying to tire himself out, trying to quiet his mind. All the times he'd told himself he was fine with being on his own, that it was easier this way. And maybe it had been easier. But this felt better. I should probably get home, Eli said eventually, though he didn't move. Yeah. Me too, neither of them let go. This is going to sound forward, Eli said, but can I walk you to the train? Kai laughed. I'd like that. They stood, still holding hands, and made their way back through the park, onto the sidewalk, toward the nearest subway entrance. The rain had stopped completely now. The air smelled clean and new. At the top of the subway steps, they stopped. So, Eli said. Tomorrow. What time? Afternoon. There's a cafe I like. I could show you. Okay, Eli squeezed his hand. I'm really glad I went into that bookstore. Me too, Kai said. I'm really glad I did too. They stood there for a moment, neither wanting to be the first to let go. Then Eli leaned in, slow, giving Kai time to pull away if he wanted, and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek. Good night, Kai, good night. Kai rode the train home in a kind of daze. He kept touching his cheek where Eli had kissed it, like he could still feel the warmth there. Kept replaying the evening in his mind, the bookstore, the walk, the park, the moment Eli had taken his hand. It felt unreal. It felt like the best thing that had happened to him in months. When he got home, he didn't turn on all the lights. Just left his apartment dim and quiet, went to the window, looked out at the city. From up here, it was all glittering lights and dark spaces. Beautiful and lonely and vast. But tonight, it felt different. Tonight, it felt like the kind of place where good things could happen. Where you could walk into a bookstore on a whim and meet someone who made the world feel less heavy. Kai pulled out his phone, typed a message. Made it home. Thanks for tonight. The response came almost immediately. Thanks for saying yes to walking. I'll see you tomorrow. Kai smiled. He thought about what Eli had said. About stumbling into things being better than planning for them. About trusting when something felt right even if you couldn't explain why. Maybe that was it. Maybe the best things were the ones you didn't see coming. The ones that found you when you stopped looking. Kai set his phone down, sat by the window, let the quiet of his apartment settle around him. Outside, the city continued its endless motion. Lights flickering on and off. People coming home, people leaving. Stories beginning and ending and beginning again. And somewhere out there, Eli was probably sitting by his own window, looking at the same city, thinking about the same night. The thought made Kai feel less alone than he had in a long time. Some stories are small. They don't change everything. They don't solve all your problems or make you a different person overnight. But they stay with you. They become part of the landscape of your life, small and warm and quietly significant. Kai didn't know what would happen tomorrow. Or the day after that. Or the day after that. But he knew he wanted to find out. And that, more than anything, felt like enough. He closed the curtains, turned off the last light, and went to bed. And for the first time in weeks, sleep came easily. And that, more than anything, felt like enough. He closed the curtains, turned off the last light, and went to bed. And for the first time in weeks, sleep came easily. Outside, the city lights kept glowing. Inside, Kai dreamed of bookstores and rain-slicked streets and a hand warm in his. And in another apartment across the city, Eli was doing the same. Two strangers who weren't strangers anymore. Two people who'd found each other in the gentle chaos of a Thursday night. And tomorrow, they'd find each other again. I also write cozy LGBTQ romance about adults who already know who they are. No trauma, no coming out, just love. Available on my Instagram account.